Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I love to bake. I'm in the baking mood. So today what we're going to do is we're going to make some challah bread. This is what you're going to need. Okay, I pre-measured here 6 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm not sure if it's going to use all of this, so we're going to add a little at a time. But at a minimum, I'm hoping at least 4.5 cups. It all depends on humidity and where you're at. I've got 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I've got 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. I'm going to use 1 egg and 3 egg yolks. I'm going to use the egg whites from those egg yolks to make a wash at the end. I have 2 teaspoons of salt. Oh, and I almost forgot. We're going to need 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. That's for the yeast to feed on during proofing. We're going to use a 1/3 cup of honey. So what I did with the oil is I put the oil in a 1/3 cup so I can coat it, and then I'll measure it out and the honey will slip right out of the measuring cup. We're also going to need 1 1/4 cups of warm water to proof the yeast. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure out a 1 1/4 cup, and then we're going to put it in our mixing bowl. Yes, a stand-up mixer would be great. If you don't have a stand-up mixer, you do it by hand, and you use a hand blender until it gets too thick, and then you do the rest by hand. So we're going to use all 3 attachments. We're going to use a whisk, we're going to use a paddle, and we're going to use a dough hook. I've got here some warm water. I'm going to start with 1/4 cup. I'm going to add the yeast. I'm going to add the sugar. All right, so it wasn't reaching the bottom, so I'm just going to mix this up like this. And we're going to put this back, and we're going to let this proof until it gets foamy, about 5-10 minutes. So what I did was while the yeast is proofing, I added the oil to the remaining 1 cup of water. And now I'm going to measure out the 1/3 cup of honey in the same measuring cup that the oil was in. And then we're going to add that. And you'll see just a little bit of honey remains behind. All right, I'm just going to give that a mix. And we'll mix that up again just before we add it to the yeast mixture. Okay, so my yeast looks good. I'm going to start this on low. I'm going to add that oil, honey, and water. I'm going to add the whole egg. I'm going to add the 3 egg yolks. And I still have the salt. I want to put the salt in at the very end because I don't want it to affect the yeast too much. So I'm going to turn this up to high, make sure those eggs are all incorporated. Alright, now I'm going to add that salt. So now we're going to add flour half a cup at a time. And we're not going to add any more flour until this is well mixed. If you have to stop it to scrape down the side, you do that. That was my second half cup. Scrape down the sides. That was my third half cup. You can see it's starting to come together. This is the fourth half cup. Scrape it. This is the fifth half cup. So right now we've got 2.5 cups in there. Number 6 half cup. Number 7 half cup. So right now we have 3.5 cups in there. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do at this point, I think I'm going to switch over to the paddle attachment, because if this gets too thick, it's going to be hard to get out of the whisk. So let me change things over and we'll be back. Okay, so you know what? It was a little challenging to clean. So I'm gonna go with my dough hook. I'm gonna just bypass that paddle. All right, and then we're gonna continue adding half at a time. So remember, we're up to 3.5 cups. That's 7 half cups. And we're gonna add number 8. I don't think we're going to go that whole 6 cups, so we're on number 9. All right, I'm gonna scrape this down. Now this dough is supposed to be sticky to begin with, so you don't want it too dry. Yep. Okay, that's it. It's all coming together. You can hear the strain and you can see it. The dough is... Okay, so the dough is climbing up the hook. The walls are clean. This is still sticky, but I believe it is ready. So let me get this out and then we'll put it out on our bench. I'm going to use some of that remaining flour. Now I'm going to work it by hand until it's how I want it. So just start off with a little bit of flour until you get a feel for it. And I think that's going to be it. Feels good. Feels a little tacky. I'm going to try to avoid putting any more flour on it. So I'm just going to get this to where I want it, and then I'll show you, and then we're going to put it in a bowl to rise. Okay, I've been doing this for about 2 minutes. So now there's some stickiness, and you get that surface tension when you kind of drag the ball across your bench. And I believe this will be okay. I'm going to oil the bowl. So then we're going to take our dough, kind of coat it. We're going to put this in a warm, draft-free area. And we're going to let it rise for 1 hour. We're going to cover it. I have a bread proofing feature on my oven, and that's where this is going to go. So after an hour we'll be back. Okay, so we've did 2 rises. I'm gonna sprinkle a little. We're gonna take it out, and we're just gonna kind of just divide it in 2. Remember, this is gonna be 2 loaves. That looks about like even. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of shape this, and we're going to braid this. Now, I usually do a 3 braid, but I'm going to be daring, and I'm going to try a 6 braid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. All right. All right, I'm going to roll these out and then we'll be back. Okay, so I've got 6 strands, and you want to join them together at the top. From what I saw on the one is it's over, under, over, under, over, and it's over, under, over, under, over, over, under, over, under, over, over, under, over, under, over, over, under, over, under, over. And it's kind of a small loaf. I'm going to put this on. Went on a baking sheet. All right, so I'm going to do this other loaf, and then we'll be back. It's not the prettiest, but it's only going to be chopped up for bread pudding anyway. So I got them on a baking sheet here. I'm going to cover them and then let them rise again for about half an hour. All right, so okay, so these are ready for the oven. I'm going to take those egg whites, I'm going to put them in a bowl. I'm going to just put a pinch of salt in it. I'm going to use a whisk. Whisk that up a little bit. Now I'm going to egg wash these. Okay, now I'm going to put them in a preheated oven, 350 degrees. I'm going to put them in for a half hour. And then I'm going to take them out and put another egg wash on them and then bake them for another half hour. Okay, so that's the first 20 minutes. Alright, now I'm going to give it another brush with egg white. Okay, they're done. Now you know they're done when you tap the bottom and they sound hollow and they're hot. They literally just came out of the oven. So I'm not 100% happy with the way these came out, but a lot of it's my fault. Has nothing to do with the recipe. It's the yeast that I used was old, but I'm sure they're going to be delicious anyway. Hope you try this recipe. Thanks for stopping by. John Camp, Oven Lesson, Eat Chat.